Russ, as you know, Julian Simon is one of my great heroes. He's right up there with Hayek. And not only his insight about human creativity or the human mind being the ultimate resource, not only is that important to me, but just the way he did empirical work, showing what happens to the prices of resources over time, what happens to the price of resources relative to wage rates. Some of his creative insights, one that's had a big impact on me, it came from the introduction to his 1995 edited volume, The State of Humanity, where he pointed out that regardless of what you think about pollution today, most of the pollutants that were experienced by humankind throughout history, by our relatively near-in ancestors, great-grandparents, tuberculosis, cholera, malaria, we've virtually wiped all these things out. And so it's
in the developed world.
In the developed world, that's right. That's right. Well, in those societies that produce the kinds of pollutants that we today worry about, the kinds of pollutants that actually killed men, women, and children for most of human history, have been either eliminated completely, like smallpox, or dramatically reduced. People don't worry about tuberculosis much anymore.
Cholera,
polio, right? Now, so it's true to say, well, okay, these things aren't pollutants in the way that carbon coming out of carbon monoxide coming out of a car's tailpipe is a pollutant. But what's the ultimate concern? The ultimate concern is, well, how free is our environment of things that are hazardous to our health and comfort? And I'm sorry, I challenge anybody to come to the United States today, go to an ordinary middle-class neighborhood, and if you know anything about history, that neighborhood is the equivalent of a sanitary operating room compared to what the living environments of our ancestors of even just 100 years ago. I mean, we live in an extraordinarily clean, safe, non-perilous environment. Capitalism isn't creating a more polluted environment. Capitalism is cleaning our environment. And as Julian Simon says somewhere, I forget the exact quote, he says, we're privileged to be able to worry about the kinds of pollutants that we today worry about. Because these pollutants, they're not going to kill us right away, unlike, tuberculosis that killed your ancestors right away. They're fairly speculative. There's still a lot of debate going on. Well, is the Earth warming? What's going to happen to temperature over the next 100, 200 years? And what will that do? How will we adjust? Maybe these are legitimate concerns. Obviously, as we make decisions at the margin. And so as we wipe out one problem, other problems that in the past weren't of concern now become of concern. But we at least recognize that it's a privilege. We're lucky to be worried about the kinds of pollutants that we today worry about, because capitalism and commerce have rid us of the vast majority of the kinds of pollutants that were much more directly in our face and much more directly perilous to our existence than are the kind of pollutants that we worry about today.
Yeah, I always find it ironic that people talk about how dangerous our society is, our products, our air, and yet lifespan and life expectancy continues to expand as we somehow manage to increase, overcome those negatives. And it's exactly what you're saying. The things that kill people now kill people later than they did in the past, and that's a blessing of tremendous proportion.
I made this point once in an article, and I got an email from some woman I don't know, and she was a nurse. She signed her signature, so-and-so RN, and she upbraided me for being unaware that more people die of cancer. A greater portion of the population die of cancer today than died of cancer in the 19th century. Now, I don't know if this fact is true, but I accept it. I accept it as true. I think it is true, because cancer is primarily an old person's disease. Yes, some young people get it, but it's primarily an old person's disease. And so that fact, she didn't realize it, but that fact helped prove my point. We're living longer, and so as you live longer, you have a greater prospect of getting cancer. By the way, just in the past 15 to 20 years, there's been this sort of silent improvement in cancer survival rates. Cancer is not the killer that it was even even in the mid-1980s.
But it is important to point out, of course, that the death rate still remains about roughly 100% for human beings. So you are going to die of something. What you want to die of is something relatively painless a long time from now.
Yeah.
And that's what we've gotten better and better at as our societies have gotten more economically developed.
Yeah, and that is a result of capitalism and trade.